Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Reski Hoirina Horan. I'm from Universitas Muslim Nusantara Al-Wasliyah, Medan, and I'm also a doctoral student at Universitas Sumatera Utara. Today I would like to talk about the paper I have written entitled An Application of Setup Incongruity Resolutions or SIR Theory in Indonesian That Jokes. These are the outline, the topics that I'm going to talk about today. The first one is the background of research, and then followed by the setup, incongruity, and resolution theory itself, and followed by the definition of that jokes, followed by method, and then result and discussion, and for last but not least, I will talk about the conclusion. So the first one, the background of research. Humor has been around the world from more than a century. It is a part of human nature. So humor has been around us in newspaper, television, social media, and all over the internet, perhaps. So, what is exactly humor? Salvatore Attardo in 1994, a cognitive linguist, defined humor as an all-encompassing category that encompasses every event or object that provokes laughter, and it is entertaining or is regarded as humorous. Meanwhile, Berger in 1995 defines humor as a phenomena that causes people to laugh through the use of various ways to producing laughter. So there are several types of humor, but generally humor are divided into two categories. The first one is verbal humor. So what is verbal humor? Verbal humor is conveyed through the use of rhetorical tactic that it can take the form of sarcasm, mockery, irony, puns, or other rhetorical tactics that are appropriate for the situation. The other type of humor is situational comedy, which is related with the elements of comedic design such as imitation and disguise. There are many experts that have been evaluated or done some research about humor. One of the experts is from the linguistic field. So there are several linguistic theory of humor, but the most popular one are these three ones. The first one is the SSTH or semantic script theory of humor. So what is a humor according to the text, according to this theory? Uh, when the text is compatible with two alternative scripts, either entirely or in part, uh, it is called overlapping scripts, or the two text compatible scripts that are diametrically opposed, or it is called a script opposition, uh, and they are considered as humor. The second theory, GTVH or General Theory of Verbal Humor, is actually a development of the previous theory. So for the first theory, the main figure of that theory was Raskin in GTVH. Raskin and his student Attardo created this new theory that consists of six parameters, which is known as knowledge resource. They are language or LA, the target or TA, the situation or SI, the logical mechanism or LM, the script opposition SO, and the narrative strategy or NS. So Attardo, and then it is followed by the one that Attardo popularized by Attardo, which is called the setup, incongruity, and resolution. So incongruity as a theory was pioneered in 18th century by Kant and Schopenhauer, and then Searle later extended it into two-stage model in 1983. Both stages entail mismatch and resolution. That's the name IR. Mismatch means incongruity. And it all comes down to humor comprehension. So in 1997, Attardo converted it from two stages to three-stage model comprises of stages for setup, incongruity, and resolutions. So what is setup, incongruity, and resolution? So before we go on to that, we should know that in general, in every field, humor theory is founded on three tenets for every field. The first one is superiority theory. So in superiority theory, laughter stems from the thrill of feeling superior to another. And then for incongruity theory, something is deemed humorous if it is illogical or irrational or paradoxical, nonsensical, incorrect, or improper. And then the third one is realist theory. It is actually based on the psychological theory. So according to this theory, humor is utilized to alleviate or relieve physical or emotional tension or stress. So based on this theory, uh, we go on to the next theory of linguistics. And then in 1997, Attardo stated that SIR, or set up incongruity and resolution theory, cannot be separated from its two forerunner hypotheses, which are SSTH and GTVH. So actually, SIR is consistent with both ideas. We can take a look at the following table that illustrates the link between the three. So in setup phase, it corresponds to the script overlap in SSTH and GTVH, and its function to set up expectation to readers. And then for incongruity in the phase of incongruity, it actually corresponds to the SO in SSTH and GTVH, and its functions to note the divergence from the expectation. And for the last part, for the last phase, which is resolution, it corresponds to the LM in SSTH or GTVH, and its function to resolve the incongruity. So, for the object of this study, we talk about the jokes. What are jokes? So, the jokes were officially added to the Merriam-Webster dictionary in 2019 with the definition healthy jokes of the type that claims are given with the humorous sections that are generally clear or predictable puns and are typically regarded as extremely corny or unfunny. So, it's the type of unfunny joke. In English, in American English slang, that joke is typically expressed as follows. Where do you learn to make banana split? Sunday school. So that is the word game here. The question about ice cream. The script is about ice cream. We know from the word banana split. We're answered with the pun of the word Sunday and Sunday, so they have like similar sounds. The term Sunday school actually refers to Sunday school that associated with church worship for Christian children or teens and has nothing to do with ice cream. So in Indonesia, it's just the same. It takes similar shape. So take a look at our example here. Minuman-minuman apa yang sudah hijrah Nutri Syari. So in example 2 is one introduced when Nutrisari. Nutrisari is a well-known powdered drink brand. I believe that you know this. It's combined with Nutri Syari to make correspondence with the questions, which has a religion script known from the context with hijrah. It is in specifically in Islamic context. So the method for this it is a descriptive qualitative research. The data from this study collected from 20 pieces of a collection of dead jokes collected from various online sources. And the following stages outline the research procedures. The first one is gathering the data about Indonesian date jokes from various online platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then the second one is determine the three stages of the Attardo model. And then the third one is analyzing jokes based on the three stages by Attardo. And then the last one, defining the model's applicability. So we look at the chart here. It's like in line, just like a straight line, setup, incongruity, and resolution. So we go on to the main part, which is the result and discussion. Due to the limitation of time, I will only show you several of the data that I have collected. So the first one is this. This is the joke. Tadi saya makan bubur, buburnya kecil tapi bisa digedein. Ternyata bubur zoom zoom, si ngakak abis. So I put the analysis into the table. There are phase, setup, incongruity, and resolution, and the analysis. So clearly in this humor, there is this script overlapping between food script, bubur, or porridge, and then camera script, which is zoom zoom. So these two scripts has no connection at all. So there is like a, a word play on this. Bubur zoom zoom means bubur sum sum, and then zoom zoom is actually related to the camera script. So CCC ngakak abis is another way of saying he or laughter that stays. The use of CCC and the juxtaposition of upper and lower case characters in the word is featured in this that jokes, which portray itself as purposefully unfunny and uncool, as in the that jokes characters I have mentioned before. This is the second data. Kenapa air mata warnanya bening? Kalau hijau namanya air maca. Si. So I put this the analysis into the table. So we can see here that the setup and it actually this is the type of that is the most common type of dead jokes, which is a riddle or a puzzle. So this is the setup phase. Actually becomes the incongruity itself, because because it's like a this is the type of nonsense riddles, nonsense questions, right? The setup phase can be considered incongruity in this humor. The script content incongruity phase is quite straightforward, namely the tears as water produced during lacrimation process. Tears, we know tears, just like other bodily fluid, does not have color or it is transparent. So the resolution is indicated the emergence of the script that is completely unrelated to the incongruity phases inquiries, namely air matcha. Matcha here has matcha is a powdered green tea leaf that when combined with water produces a green color. So there is like a play of the sound of the word here. Uh, Mata becomes macha. It is called aphenthesis, or the process of inserting or affixing a phoneme in the middle of a word. So additionally, this humor features the characteristics that jokes chuckle, yeah, particularly CCC. The third one is between two conversations between two people. Bajunya lucu-lucu, lihat-lihat boleh ya Pak? B, iya silahkan, tapi jangan berisik ya Dek. And then followed by A, lah ngapa Pak? B, itu ada baju tidur. Oh iya Pak, answered by A. So I put it in the table. You can see here, set up incongruity and resolutions. So the third piece of the data becomes from the Facebook group Menjadi Bapak-Bapak Sebuah Pengantar. So this group featured that joke submitted by group member, and this particular joke, the author of this particular joke claimed that it was based on his personal experience. So the scene for this humor begins with the clothes script. So we can see from the word lihat means checking out, so implying that both of them are in a clothing store. So Mr. B, we can see that implying that Mr. B is the shop owner or maybe the shopkeeper. So Mr. B requests to A to not make a racket in his shop, indicates incongruity. Why? Because it is not commonplace to ask a customer to be quiet, because clothing store is not a library, so it's not common to ask people to be quiet. So as a result, A inquired once more of B uh, as to why he had been advised to be silent. Mr. B responded to earlier question, signaled the resolution of this humor. As Mr. B stated that there was a nightgown. So a nightgown, baju tidur, is a play of the word. Like baju tidur means nightgown, but in the Indonesian language, baju tidur can also means the cloth that is sleeping. So there is a word game here between nightgowns and the cloth that is sleeping, which has the same phrase, baju tidur. It is a play of the word. So at the same time, this resolution generates a new incongruity by A responding with the word, oh, okay, sir, and the same sad emoticon as CCC in the preceding humor, suggesting that this humor is not humorous actually and becomes like we call that as anti-humor. So after analyzing the humor data of the dead jokes above, several findings were obtained which are summarized as follows. The first one is the setup phase can be incongruity. And then the second one, resolution must start with incongruity. And then the third one, incongruity found in Indonesian dad jokes humor. Indonesian dad jokes can be in the form of questions like riddles or not. It can be just a statement. And four, resolutions can be full resolution, which means resolving incongruities, but it can also be partial resolution, which means it makes the previous incongruity less intense. And for the five, resolution can also give rise or create the new incongruities. And based on the result of the analysis, it was found that the resolution that resulted in new incongruity had more resolution, generally represented by the laughing CCC or the use of emoticons or the form of long dots, dot, as a manifestation of lost words, like speechless. Okay. So previously in the method section, I put the applicability of the search theory as in the arrow setup, followed by incongruity, and then followed by resolutions. But after we analyze that, uh, this is the conclusion that I got. That setup can be in new congruity, or it's just create incongruity. So setup can be incongruity. Well, it can be incongruity. It leads to resolution, just like in the usual chart. And then this resolution itself can create another incongruity. So it kind of different from the original version, but it's still applicable. The last part I will talk about the conclusion. So the Artardo popularized theory of setup incongruity or resolutions or SIR is one of the linguistic theories that can be used to understand humor, especially the type of short verbal humor like that jokes. So typically in this type of humor, the setup phase is begins by raising the reader's expectation about something, and this phase contains the script that serves as the original script in the comedy. And then the following step is incongruity. So this phase must precede resolution. There is an element of surprise in incongruity phase due to the occurrence of script overlapping or script opposition. So this phase we currently encountered in that humor, in that jokes, in the form of inquiries. And the final phase is called resolution. It is to resolve the preceding incongruity. It can be in the form of full resolution or partly resolution. It is also noteworthy to note that the resolutions can result in new incongruities, which can be resolved by a new resolution that is typically communicated through the expressions like laughing CCC or the use of emoticon or even the use of uh, long dots. And then this study focuses exclusively on the application of SIR theory to a particular sort of brief jokes, which is called dad jokes. As a result, it is advised that the next researcher to examine this form of humor via the lens of further semantic or pragmatic theories. So, okay, these are the references that I have adapted in my writing. Um, so I think this is the end for our presentation. I really hope I really hope to get some feedbacks from you. I would be very happy to get that. So thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you next time.